Welcome to the Alison Howard podcast, where high achieving women elevate their identity, expand what's possible, and create a life of true abundance. I'm Alison Howard. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Alison Howard podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about something that we have been talking about for a few weeks in my private community. And it's why you still don't feel like her. And when I say her, this is the person that you have envisioned in your mind. And she's done all the things. Okay. She's done all the work. She's listened to all the podcasts. She's read the books. She's invested in her growth. She's prayed and journaled and reflected. And she has become very aware of the patterns that once held her back. So she knows what needs to change and she understands all the concepts, and she can even see herself becoming the version of herself who she's really proud of. And yet she doesn't fully feel like her. And this is something, like I said, we've been talking about in my community is, okay, when I am in the process of becoming the next version of myself, when I am ascending and growing, what do I do when I see where I want to go, but I don't really feel like her yet? And, this is something that is common when it comes to embodiment work. And it's because there's a gap. There's this gap between, what she knows and how she feels. And I have experienced this. You probably have experienced this at different times. So I want to speak through this and speak to this a little bit today. So, what happens is there's a gap between who you are intellectually, what you understand intellectually, and who you understand yourself to be, and who you are actually experiencing yourself in the day to day life. Okay. And if this is you, I want you to take a deep breath because nothing has gone wrong here. Okay, you're not behind, you're not failing at anything. I like to remind you of that often because a lot of times when we're in progress, which we always are, we can start to, feel that we're behind or, we're a failure in some way, and that's not true. Instead, you're really just in the middle of transformation. And so I want to talk a little bit about the identity gap because that is what you're experiencing. This is the space between your current identity and your emerging identity. It's the space where your mind has expanded, you've learned, you've grown, but your nervous system hasn't fully caught up yet. It's the space where your beliefs are shifting and you know that, but your emotional patterns still occasionally reflect the old version of you. And this can feel really confusing because you expect that once you know better, you will automatically feel different. You'll automatically do better. But transformation just doesn't happen instantly. It happens through repetition, through reinforcement, and through embodiment over time. So, even in scripture, we see this principle reflected in the idea of renewal. Not instant perfection, but ongoing transformation. In Romans 12:2, it speaks about being transformed by the renewing of your mind, which implies a process, not a moment. And for me, I find that really comforting because we are all works in progress. Now, we can accelerate this process. Of course, there's many different ways that we can collapse time and make things move a little bit faster. But I want you to know that you're not alone in how you're feeling if you're in progress right now, going from this old version of you to this new version of you. So many women start to get frustrated in this phase because they assume that knowledge should immediately translate into embodiment. But knowing something and being someone are two entirely different experiences. So you can know that you are worthy and still feel insecure in certain moments. And you can know that you're very capable and intelligent and still hesitate when making decisions. You can know and believe that God has more for you and still feel very uncertain about stepping into it. And this does not mean that your belief is weak or that something is wrong with you. It actually means that your identity is stabilizing. So your mind may have accepted a new truth, a new belief, but your nervous system is still learning that this new way of being is safe. And there's often an emotional lag here. There's often an emotional lag in growth in general that people just don't really talk about. So, a lot of us, what we'll do is we will decide to grow. Something will happen in our lives and we'll make a decision to grow. And so, that decision to grow leads us to beginning to think differently. We start showing up differently, and yet our emotions may still fluctuate. So, even though we are moving into this different version of ourselves, old thoughts definitely will resurface. Old fears may start to reappear. Also, old habits may try to resurface. And this is not regression. It's not. I always tell my clients this in our one on one coaching sessions. You're not regressing. You're actually just recalibrating. Your system is adjusting to a new baseline. And I believe that this is where faith becomes incredibly important because there will be moments where you are not yet fully feeling what you know to be true. And the thing about feelings is that they aren't facts. Our feelings are really good barometers for our thoughts. And so, even though we are shifting beliefs, a lot of times our feelings will be a reflection of some of the doubt that we may carry with us. So, in those moments, you have to walk by faith and not by sight or even by feeling. Okay. So here's a little bit of a personal story. There have been seasons in my own life where I could clearly see the woman that I was becoming, but I did not feel fully anchored in who she was. I knew that I was expanding. I knew that I was growing. I knew that my thinking and my beliefs were shifting. I knew that my standards were rising. All of that stuff was there, but there were still moments of doubt and moments of hesitation and moments where the old version of me felt familiar. And I went back to that. It was easy to fall back into that because it was familiar. And what I had to learn and what I want to offer to you today is that those moments did not mean that I was off track at all. They meant that I was in transition. They meant that I was practicing becoming. And over time, as I continued choosing the new version of me, it became more natural. So it wasn't something that I was having to force. It wasn't a performance that I was putting on. It truly became embodiment. And this in between phase is not something that you want to rush through, although some people do. I mean, some people it can be really fast, but it really is something that I want you to be in and to honor because this is where your identity stabilizes. This is where your new way of thinking actually does become your default. This is where your nervous system really starts to learn that there is safety and expansion. Because expansion, anytime we grow and expand, our nervous system is like, this is not familiar. What is she doing? Let's go back to the way we've been doing it over and over again. But that way is no longer producing the results you want, which is why you need to expand. And so your nervous system has to feel safe with that. And the way that you feel safe with that, visualization, repetition, journaling, surrounding yourself with people who've done what you want to do, all of that creates nervous system safety. And if everything shifted instantly, I don't think that we would be able to hold it. I just want to put that out there. So this process, this growth process does require integration. Integration takes time. It doesn't have to take years. This is why I choose to coach one-on-one with people in a 90-day container because that is enough time. It's enough time to integrate and it's enough time to see results. And that is what the average person typically needs is about 3 months. So, how do you move through this phase with more ease? How do you do it? If you're impatient like me, this is something that you're going to want to know. The first thing is you need to stop expecting perfection. You need to allow yourself to be in process. The second thing is you need to continue choosing your next level self in small daily moments. This isn't something that you want to put a ton of pressure on. We don't need more pressure on ourselves, but this is an area where you do want to be aware. There should be a heightened awareness throughout the day. And third, you anchor yourself in truth, not just in what you feel, because our feelings can lead us astray, but you anchor yourself in truth. And there is definitely a strength in continuing to move forward, even when your emotions haven't fully caught up yet. In fact, your emotions will tell you not to do certain things. Your emotions will tell you to stay safe in a lot of situations. And so that is part of transformation is to say, okay, I realize my next step feels uncomfortable and I'm feeling a lot of fear. And fear typically leads me to not do things. And so I have to push through this fear and I need to move forward if I want to see the results in my life or in my business or my relationships that I want. And that's where real transformation is built. So, if this episode is resonating with you, if you feel like you are in the in between space, you're ready to stabilize your next level in a deeper way, if you're wanting to grow in your life, in your business, in your finances, in your relationships, I want to invite you to join me live. So, April 8th, 9th, and 10th, I have a 3-day Zoom event, 90 minutes each of those days. And I'm going to be walking you through identity, belief, embodiment, which is what we're talking about today, and how to fully step into the woman that you know that you're becoming. So, you're going to find the registration link in the show notes, and I would love to see you there live. I would love to support you there. But I want to leave you with this: you do not feel like her yet because you're still becoming her. And the becoming part is a process. So stay with it. Okay. Stay open to it. Stay curious. Stay anchored and consistent. You are absolutely closer than you think, especially if you have found this podcast or this YouTube episode. I can tell that you're searching because you're here. And so you're closer than you think. So, like I say every week, go and be the woman that your future is waiting on. Thank you for spending time with me today. I look forward to seeing you next time or talking with you next time. Until then, I hope that you will be blessed.